Hey everybody, Kenny here. So this cycle, I'm going to be doing something that I most likely won't be doing in any cycles after this, and isn't what I did for 1.0, but I'm going to be doing a kind of combined build thing. I'm just going to be going over two different builds, my Paladin and Spellblade. And the reason I'm doing that, and the reason I'm trying to make this as quick as possible, is maybe wondering why it is that I have a cycle character that's level 87 and then all of my legacy characters are still in the 50 to 60 range, and it doesn't seem like I've leveled any of them since the start of 1.0. And the reason for that is that there is a problem with my PC when I play this game, and unfortunately, like, I can't do really anything without my PC crashing. Not the game crashing, my PC crashing. So if I try recording pretty much anything I do, my PC crashes and all of the footage gets corrupted, so I can't use any of it. So I'm going to be just going over like what makes the build and try to hopefully like get some footage of my characters doing the things they do, just to show kind of the power of what's going on with these characters. But unfortunately, like, this is going to be a tough video to put together, just because I'm trying not to record for more than like a minute at a time, because I'm that unsure of when my PC is going to crash while this game is running. It doesn't happen with any other game. It's only Last Epoch that does this. I'm not saying that to try to deter you from playing the game. It's just that, this happens to be the case for me at this time when trying to play Last Epoch. So it's why, like, you're not going to see any like playthrough or build progress thing or anything as the new cycle goes on. This is entirely going to be, these are some builds you can play in the new cycle, and that's all I'm going to be covering until my PC is in a place where I can actually play the game without it crashing. By the way, let me get to it. First off, let's go over my Paladin. If you watched my Paladin build video from the 1.0 launch, a lot of this is going to be very similar. Basically, I haven't really changed any of the gear that this character is wearing, other than the fact that they are now wearing a scepter instead of I had them wearing a mace before that just increased melee damage. So now I have them with an ornate scepter because it gives both melee and spell damage as well as increased elemental damage, and I have a pretty good spell damage and cast speed affixes on weapon. But like the majority of the gear that I have going here is, trying to get attunement, endurance threshold, vitality, health regen, and most importantly, healing effectiveness. So there's a ton of healing effectiveness across the gear that I'm wearing on this character, as well as some spell damage on ring here. And I'm also wearing these experimental gauntlets. So if you're aware of the balance change that is being made for 1.1, there have been apparently a lot of builds where you can generate a massive amount of ward using certain skills. And I wasn't aware of that when I put these on this character, because if you have this this mod here, the current health lost per second, missing health gained as ward per second, I wasn't aware that using that and using the healing hand skill caused this to happen. Like, that is something that I was completely unprepared for. And that I only really learned about because before those notes went up, I was trying to come up with a Void Knight build for the new cycle. And as I was going through the different Sentinel passives and all of their active skills, and going through everything to try to find synergies between the different Void Knight active skills, I went and I looked through the Healing Hands tree for the first time, which I hadn't done before because this tree didn't exist when I did my Paladin build. I did that build before 1.0 was released. So there wasn't a tree for this skill. So I didn't know any of the skill upgrades that existed for this. So if you do this, what you're seeing here, so getting Divine Barrier Homeward, this makes it that you self-cast. Like, so no matter what, like you're always going to be casting Healing Hands wherever you are. So it's not going like if you don't have that upgrade, then it'll go wherever your mouse cursor is. But you want it to be right on you because yeah, like sometimes it goes off of you, but I'm pretty sure that's a bug. But you want it to be casting on you because the whole playstyle here is that if there's a bunch of enemies around, and hopefully I've put in some footage here that's showing me blasting a bunch of enemies using this skill, then it like just goes and seeks out all the enemies. So all of the little bolts that are produced by Divine Catalyst are just flying off and attacking enemies for you. So you don't have to think about what you're doing. Like you're just constantly like massively generating ward that gives you immense survivability. But like this was already a pretty tanky build, so like I have so maxed out endurance 283 endurance threshold, which is more than 20% of our our current health. So it's it was already like pretty tanky. Like our resistances could be a little could be better, but this is a level 60 character. This character, like I can't run the monolith because trying to run the monolith, my PC crashes. So since I can't do it, like this is as far as I can take the character at the moment. But at the moment, like this character just absolutely destroys everything. But the reason for the skill selection is that the upgrades here. So if you take Searing Light and then go and take Bane of Evil and Cleric's Wrath, like the way that you enhance the skill is by having bonuses to healing effectiveness and bonuses to bonuses by having buff skills that are leveled up also. So anything that has a buff tag, we can see that Sigils of Hope is a buff skill, Javelin is a buff skill, and Holy Aura is a buff skill. Rebuke should be a buff skill. I have no idea why it's not a buff skill, but this was part of my other build and it's an irreplaceable skill. Like there's no reason not to have Rebuke. Like you're gonna just, this is where it gets us our mana regen. It makes it that when we have it up, like we're taking less damage from anything. And it gives us buffs. But somehow it is not a buff skill. But this is just a very cool skill. My tree, I haven't changed at all since that original video. Like I think the only changes that you're seeing here are that I added, I think I added these points. I think I added like 2 points here, 1 point here, and maybe 2 points somewhere else. Because I know I was only at 10 here. I didn't put anything in Forge Guard. I didn't add anything to Sentinel. So I must have spent 5 points. I know I definitely spent 5 points while I was trying to get to the Monolith of Fate with this character. But I don't remember where I put them. But regardless, this is a very competent build all around because, you get extra spell damage from having a shield. Is what these nodes do for you. And then you have lots of extra attunement. The Divine Bolt, like this, like you can choose not to get this. This only works if you're using a melee attack. We're not using a melee attack. Unless you were to go and convert Healing Hands over to Seraph's Blade, in which case it would be considered a melee skill. And then you could get the extra Seraph bolts on top of, the extra Divine bolts on top of what this does. I'm not doing that because it would be extra work to work this into a melee build. I just don't feel like doing that. Also, I was going to go and grab Unbroken Prayer and Skyfall. Unfortunately, the way I play, this doesn't work for me. Like, it might work for you. And, and with the new update, channeling skills are going to allow you to regenerate your mana while you're channeling. So turning this into a channeled skill like may work really well for how you play. For me, like the way I play it is I'm always moving, and and then I cast it as I go. If you're using a channeling skill, it doesn't stop you if you're doing that. So like you're going to do what you're seeing here, where like like you start casting and then you keep moving. Like so, if you turn into a channeling skill, like it's going to burn through your mana for no benefit. So you need to like learn to stop and cast a spell if you want to do channeling. If you want to do any kind of channeling build in this game. So it's just like it's not the way I play, just because I go brain dead when I play these games. So like if it requires any kind of thought, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Yeah. So like that's and I would just go over real quick. You see like what I have going across all the stats here. So if you want to like pause the video to like see what I have going, just to make sure that like whatever you have is like on par or better than what I have going to make this work out for you. Okay, so that's it for my Paladin. So now on to my Spellblade. So similar to my Paladin, the reason for the updates that I made is that I made this character before there were skills in the game that made more sense for the theme I was going for. So in this case, if you had seen my original video, instead of Flame Reave, I was using Firebrand, and instead of Frostclaw, I was using Shatterstrike. And the reason that I decided to switch those around is that when it was Firebrand and Shatterstrike, like the build was more of a use a Firebrand to build up charges to exit, and to then have a Shatterstrike execute with it, and which like it is a playstyle that I enjoy doing. It's like a combo point playstyle kind of, but ultimately, like the way I was playing it was I would kind of like because like I said, I play very mindlessly. I go brain dead when I play these games, so like ultimately, like like I would find myself primarily just using Shatterstrike to attack. And because of that, I decided to like see, is there anything in here, any changes that I could make that would make more sense for the way I play this character. And so in Frostclaw, there is this upgrade that you get down here, where I'm not even going to try to pronounce how that's but essentially it makes it that Frostclaw is cast when you make a melee attack. And then you have these upgrades here that make it that the damage of the spell is enhanced by the amount of melee damage you have. Then like Frozen Steeper, Chaos, and Chaos Whirl make it that you build up stacks that call like you passively build up these stacks that then cause you that when this spell is cast, you cast an additional spell as well called Ice Spiral. And then what Chaos Whirl does is it makes it that you're like whenever Ice Spiral happens, it will deal double damage of what it would normally do. So it's just like like a really nice like extra way to do essentially what I was doing before, but like in a way where I use the main ability as the thing that is causing so I'm basically only really using Flame Reave, which is why you don't see Ice Claw on the bar. Instead, I swapped out Ice Claw for Surge so that I actually have a movement skill in the build, which is something that I didn't have before. But as before, like I still have Enchanted Weapon, Flame Ward, and Focus in the build. So quickly, you can just go over what I did with those. So Flame Ward, very basic. I just got this so I could go and turn it into Lightning Ward, so that the Fire Aura is converted into a Lightning Aura. Then all of the increased damage is turned into lightning damage. Then we increase the duration of it, make it more cost effective. Make it that when the Fire Aura is active, you deal more damage to around you. Extra damage from that. More damage from the Flame Ward, gain haste while it's up. And then in skill tree, over in Spellblade, went through the elemental affinity here. So, Flame Walker, more chances to gain Fire Aura. So, so you're automatically gaining Fire Aura by using Flame Ward, and then on top of that, you're also gaining passive Fire Aura by having invested into Flame Walker, then Incinerating Aura, so that you have more damage and area for the aura. And then I also invested in Mana Reaver to get to Burning Hands, so that you have more of a Fire Aura chance anytime you hit an enemy with a melee attack. And like obviously here, you can just go and pause the video to see all the investments that I made. This is pretty much entirely a Spellblade build. I didn't go into Sorcerer or Rune Master at all. Then for Mage, I just got the extra damages, the extra intelligence, and made it that I cast Arcane Lightning passively every now and then. And then for Focus, the goal here was make it that we are we have a means of kind of topping ourselves off occasionally. So I use this as a quick heal in the middle of combat. It also gets us back some mana. That gets us haste after the burst happens, and also extra ward armor. Then Enchanted Weapon, that gets a buff skill that makes it you deal more elemental damage. So obviously that in a elemental melee build. But very important was to go for Kindling Blade so that it automatically recasts itself, so you don't have to think about it. It was on the bar just so I can, because it won't auto cast itself if it's not there. So have it on the bar, make it that it's giving us more, even more melee elemental damage. It automatically activating. We have more elemental damage per missing mana. So if we're low on mana when refreshes itself, then it'll give you even more damage. And then extra damage from here, extra attack speed, cleanse ailments. If it happens to go off while you have an ailment on you, then you just auto clear an ailment. And just unstable enchantment to cast Elemental Nova. We're not invested in Elemental Nova, so this isn't a good Elemental Nova. But it's an extra bit of damage for 1 point. Why not? And then for Flame Reave, we have the extra attack speed, the frenzy chance, so you get extra damage. We're converting some of the fire. We're converting half the fire damage into lightning damage, which is our main damage type. Then with Rhythm of Fire, you're gaining stacks when you use it. Then when you've gained enough stacks, that's when the big wave comes out and it does more damage. Then you go and get some synergies with other skills, but this is just a 1 point to get to Accelerando, which makes it that we don't require as many stacks in order to get that working. And hopefully here I have a showcase of the skill in action, because it's super effective and it looks and feels awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I wish I could push it, but I can't because the game crashes when I try. Anyways, those were actually not go over the gear. So gear wise, I have a Frozen Ire on, but just need a scepter that's giving you melee, some kind of melee damage that has this elemental typed in some way, and spell damage. Just because the Frost Claw is a spell, Flame Weave is melee attack. So if you don't have both, then you're hurting your damage. And you got this particular unique gets you extra cold damage. You could easily craft a weapon that does something similar. So I have this ornate scepter here. Got melee damage, spell damage, increased elemental damage, and some melee code damage on it. And like this happens to be better, but you know, like with this, like, you know, like your damage would be pretty close. Then an offhand longsword, because longsword has a pretty good amount of base melee damage. Then I just crafted spell damage and increased cold damage onto it. And so you don't got to go crazy. Like this is a very easy character to put together. The reason for this body armor is just that it gives extra mana. Like that flat mana is the only reason why I'm wearing this. Because you'll see that I have a lot of additional mana on the gear that this character is wearing. And the reason that I have the extra mana on the gear this character is wearing is because I have this idol here that increases the lightning damage you deal if you have more than 300 mana. I mean, like it increases the amount of lightning damage you deal no matter what, but it doubles that amount if you have more than 300 mana. So I just like worked on making sure I got as close to over that as I could without like super focusing on extra mana. That wise, you can see what I have here. Like I have not heavily invested into stats here, or dexterity and intelligence. You know, like we would need to work on these a lot, but you know, like as is, like, you know, it still works very well. Like, despite the fact that I'm not really invested in the stats that give us our damage, like it still is incredibly potent. So, you know, so like you just get some better rolls on your gear than I did, then you'll be in a better position. Go through these real quick. Pause when you want to see like what I have going here. And that's the build. Everybody for stopping by and checking us out. If you found any of these tips useful, appreciate doing all YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. Next time, Fae Victus, Fires of Damaris, and bye.